Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week. You subscribe, right? So you know this. Halfway through, we stop for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars, but we spun it off. It's a standalone thing. We're at 1:33. How do you get a question in?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning, I put a post out asking for questions. Once we gather our questions, the post is deleted and we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Do you think the new CX-50 hybrid is a good RAV4 hybrid alternative given its features and price point? With it being a Toyota engine, would that make it a reliable vehicle as well? We keep our cars for 10 plus years and are shopping in this segment. Well, I think with any new vehicle, you always have to be careful. I mean, we'd like to say that it is going to be very reliable. It is a Mazda and it does have the Toyota powertrain, which is tried and true. But it still is new. It has its own technology and
yeah, it's still, they're still having to integrate it into another product. So yes, it is the Toyota RAV4 hybrid system that they put into the CX-50. So the engine, the drive unit, the rear electric motor, all of that comes from Toyota. So that is pretty good, but it's the integration into the Mazda product, that's the question mark. So it should be fine. There are people that said silly things like, oh, it's made in Alabama, it's not made in Japan. But you know what? The RAV4 is made in Canada and nobody cares about that.
No.
So it can be done. You can make good cars outside of Japan. And when you have people on YouTube walking around saying, well, this is better because it's made in Japan, it's just not true. There are instances where it is the case, but not always. So if you're really concerned about it, pause for a year.
Yeah, take a break, see how it all plays out, and then put your name on a list. I mean, I think that this is going to be a popular choice anyway. Don't think that you're going to get it right away if you order one. There may be a little bit of a wait time in Canada. More inventory we are here is going to the US, but Mazda Canada tells us that they will ramp it up at the beginning of 2025 and that they will also have more inventory. So you got to do what's right for you. If reliability is number one on your list, maybe take a pause and wait a year. New to your channel and love it. I'm looking for a new vehicle next year and considering a Subaru Forester and Buick Envision. My husband isn't comfortable with a Subaru Boxer engine. I don't even know what that means. Should I be concerned about that?
Okay, can I explain what it is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so a Boxer engine is a flat four engine. You remember the old Volkswagen Beetle? Herbie the Love Bug and all that, that was also a Boxer engine. Also a Boxer engine was used by Porsche, and still is, in a 911. Ferrari used the Boxer engine. They even had a car called a Boxer. So what it is instead of the pistons going up and down this way, so you have four cylinders going up and down this way, they have the cylinders going opposite each other. It's also called a horizontally opposed engine.
Yeah.
Write that one down, Andrea. So the pistons go like this, in and out and in and out, and they played it all night. Can you name that song?
I like that song.
All right. The problem, and this is why your husband is twigging on this, that design is great. What they have is the heads bolt onto the block, and around where the heads bolt on this way, you can have a head gasket failure. And that has been a problem with Subaru engines in the past. Has it been 100% rectified? I don't know.
Well, the other thing is it is a more complex engine for sure. And the reason why it got its Boxer name is the way that the pistons move, it looks like you're boxing. So that's where the name comes from.
I never knew that.
Yeah. That's where the name comes from, because it looks like you're boxing. So there have been recalls. I mean, back 2019, 2020, 2021, there have been issues with the engine. And I'm sure that your husband has gone on and he has seen these sorts of things.
Dr. Google, he's found it.
He's found it. There haven't been a whole lot of issues recently with it, but I can see why he might be worried about it. There are a lot of people who drive Subarus. There are older models on the road that are still going strong. So, I mean, you obviously have to feel comfortable with it before you purchase it.
So
But they
the
make
Buick-
good vehicles.
The Buick, on the other hand, has the Buick as a brand has indexed well above the industry average, right near the very top of quality scores. Not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years,
No.
but for many years in a row. And that particular product is made in China. And we're hearing reports of vehicles that come from China, like the Lincoln and the Buick and others.
Tesla models in Canada.
Tesla Model Y, really high quality. Like everything you buy these days in your house comes from China. So yeah, they even know how to make good cars now.
And we really like the Envision. It's smooth, it's quiet.
I like it a lot.
It has all the latest technology. So I wouldn't hesitate to buy a Buick Envision either, but I also wouldn't hesitate personally to buy a Subaru Forester. I do believe that Subarus are making some really wonderful vehicles.
So I call this cocktail trivia, right?
Yeah.
So next time you're at a cocktail party, a dinner party, sitting around the table, you know what? You should just bring up and blow everybody away at the table and say, have you guys ever heard of a horizontally opposed engine? Do you know that the Boxer engine that's used in the Volkswagen, Porsches, even the Subaru Forester and other Subaru products has a design where the pistons go like this, and that's why it's called a Boxer. They will spill their wine.
They won't even believe it.
They won't believe
you
it.
go and take this to your husband.
Yeah.
Go to your husband
Memorize
and say,
it all.
Memorize
Memorize
it.
it all.
Yeah, you've got to memorize it. And then you can just say, and you don't have to get into the, as much detail as Zach said. You can just say,
No. You got to throw in horizontally
no,
opposed.
do it and then explain what it is.
He'll spill his coffee and go, honey, what the hell's going on over there?
And then you can say to him, I know you have some current concerns about it because it is a more complex engine. And I know there's been some recalls, back in 2019 and 2020. But as far as I understand, it's been good recently. If you really want that Forester, you can push for it.
And then you can say, but the Chinese cars are coming in and they have very high quality scores. Yeah.
Do it. We want to hear back from
you.
We want to get some feedback as to what has been said. I'm a regular fan, never miss a show. Awesome. Thanks to your driving impressions. My wife and I, we leased 2 days ago a Buick Envision ST.
What the hell?
Love
did you stack this up, Andrew?
No, I didn't.
Did.
I didn't.
Of course you did.
And I actually didn't because I can't remember all the questions after I've picked them. I'm just going through my phone. Any advice for a first-time leaser? Well, you've already leased it, so...
Yeah, you should have asked us before that.
But that's great. So I
think they want to know about how a lease works.
Well, I think maybe they're wondering in the end when it's time to take the lease back. So you want some tips. So first off, typically 30 days before the lease is up, you contact the dealership and the vehicle's got to be inspected. And then any sort of repairs that have to be made, that falls on you.
Or they discount or they add it to the price of the buyout.
Yes.
Or you have to make them whole on that.
Yes.
But then people say, well, why do I have to? They're going to go through and they're going to see a stain on the carpet and blah, 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 blah. The analogy I always use is if you were selling a car and it wasn't leased and you had it for sale and it had a stain on the carpet, well, you're going to have to discount the car. Right? True. So that's the way they look at it.
And then you have to decide, do you want to just give it back and maybe lease another vehicle from the same brand or another brand? Lease again, you have those monthly payments. Maybe you don't want the monthly payments and you decide, I want to buy out the lease. You already know what the residual value is because it should be in your lease agreement.
It will be, for sure.
And then, or you could actually, let's say you're interested in another model from the same brand and it's not available yet, you can actually extend that lease if you choose to.
Okay, the great thing about leasing, and we've come up with the term, it depends how long your term is, 3 or 4 years. We'll say it's a 3-year lease. It's the 3-year-long test drive because on paper, you don't actually own the car. General Motors owns the car and you're leasing it from them. At the end of the lease, you have the option to then change from being a leasee to actually buying it from General Motors. And it's a 3-year-long test drive. So after 3 years, you hate it, biggest piece of crap you've ever had, I never want to see that car again. You just give the keys back and say, thanks for nothing, I'm out of here. I'm going to get a Forester with a horizontally opposed engine. Or, this is the best vehicle we've ever owned. We absolutely love it. And, those guys on the Motor Mouth are right. Buick does make high-quality cars, and I think we're going to keep it, honey. Let's go and buy out the lease. That's where you're at.
There you go. So the Envision, we just said we really like the Envision, and happy after 2 days that you're enjoying it as well. Hi guys, like your channel, great content, thank you. I'm looking for a replacement to my Outback with a bigger mid-size SUV. Interested in the 2025 Explorer ST and the 2025 MDX A-Spec. Relatively same price. Like the Explorer more due to the power. Would love to hear more from you. What would you pick?
Between an MDX and an ST Explorer, only based purely on resale value, I'm going MDX. But the ST I thought was really good. The only problem I had with the ST is it has the more powerful 3-liter turbocharged engine, but the exhaust is always on sport. Like it sounds cool, but there's sometimes you don't want it to be sounding like a sports car. You just want it to be quiet.
I also find that the Explorer drives like an SUV. The MDX drives more like a larger sedan. You know, you feel like you sit a little bit lower to the ground. I think the MDX now, with the updated technology, they ditched the trackpad finally. It still has that button shifter. I like the Explorer a lot, especially that ST model, but the suspension is just a little bit firmer. So it really comes down to what you really like.
Okay,
Have you driven both?
And they're both crap on gas.
Both
But
terrible.
if you don't care and you live somewhere where gas prices are cheap, we were in Texas recently and it was $2.70 a gallon.
Yeah.
Right? Just think of this. Okay, it's almost $2 a liter in Vancouver. It's $2.70 a gallon, and there's 3.7 liters in a U.S. gallon. So that's a big deciding factor. If you live somewhere where you have cheap gas, hell, why not get one
And
of
I
those?
got to tell you, in Texas, the amount of full-size SUVs on the road is unbelievable, and full-size pickup trucks as well. I mean, they just don't care there. The other thing is what I like about the MDX, especially if you're hauling a lot of people, the rear seat, that middle seat you can remove or you can keep in. So you have the option of captain's
That's
chairs
true.
or a bench seat, depending on what you feel like at the time. And you can just store it in the back of the MDX. Whereas the Explorer ST, in the US, for example, it only comes with captain's chairs. You can't get a bench seat, but in Canada,
You might not care
you
though.
can. You might not care.
You know
so
what I
these
say?
are just things to think about.
Just here's the thing is, buy the one you like, because they're both good.
They are both good. I'm wondering if you have any information regarding GM moving away from CarPlay and Android Auto. I just recently purchased a 2024 Sierra with the diesel, thanks to yours and Zach's recommendation, and I love it. It has CarPlay and Android Auto, but my mom just leased a 2024 Equinox EV, and it doesn't have CarPlay or Android Auto, but instead runs a built-in Google system. When I asked the salesperson at the dealer why the EV doesn't have CarPlay, they informed me that GM as a whole is moving CarPlay and Android Auto from their new vehicles in favor of their Google built-in system. Is this true? It is not true.
Well,
EVs,
It
yes.
is true and it's not true.
Yeah.
So the truth is, it's the EVs get that Google system.
EVs get the Google system, no CarPlay and Android Auto, but gas models like your Sierra, well, diesel, has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
So we were with Chevrolet for the Suburban and Tahoe launch in Texas, where they have cheap gas, and we asked the engineers, and there was a bunch of engineers there, and they were cool guys. They were answering, they were forthright about everything, and we asked about this, and they said, no, there's no plans. And I think they're hearing the pushback. And you know what? The one thing I know, I've come to realize about Mary Barra is she's pretty pragmatic. So if they're not going to force it on people if they don't want it.
No.
But the interesting thing is, the best-selling EV is Tesla, and they've never had Apple or Android, and they sell a lot of those. So,
And people don't
and
complain,
they don't
about,
complain
it.
about it.
I don't know why. But don't worry about the gas models. They continue to get it for now anyway.
by the way, nice choice on the Duramax. Well done. You'll love it.
And great fuel economy. Great fuel economy. I understand that when you put too much load on your car on a cold start, it's not good for your engine. Is this the same for plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, ICE engaging on the highway without warming up? Well, the way a plug-in hybrid works is typically when you start it up and it is a cold start, the gas engine comes on. I mean, it's not going to drive in pure electric mode. And as you need the power, let's say passing power on the highway, you're going to use the combination of the electric motor and the gas engine to give you the most power that you can get. I think that if you charge the vehicle, for example, in a garage in a warm environment, it's better. Or if you precondition the plug-in hybrid before you go.
But that's not going to warm up the gas engine.
It is not.
So that's the concern, is what you're saying is, okay, so I'm driving along an EV, and then I need extra power. I got to get on the highway, pass a truck. I put my foot into the floor, the gas engine wakes up, and it's cold. So you're putting a lot of strain on the engine. So that's one thing we'd have to find out is, I think most of them do run the gas engine to warm up, dependent on the temperature. I mean, there's a lot of computing power going on the inside of a plug-in hybrid. So I would really not think that, now you guys can correct us, that you're going to drive in pure EV on a very cold day and strain that engine. I don't think
and that's why I'm giving you tips to precondition it, the vehicle, warm it up. Also, if you can, charge it in your garage. My mom is a perfect example of that. She actually does charge it in her garage, and they pulled the vehicle out for us when we were reviewing it many years ago, and I noticed right away that the gas engine started up. I wasn't even moving yet.
Yeah, but you've got to remember that she's got a Tucson, and the cabin heat is generated from the gas engine.
That's right.
So that's the difference between that model and maybe some others.
Yeah, and I think that the RAV4 Prime, look what's coming by.
The Land Cruiser's going by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there's somebody with it.
He doesn't mind spending large.
I also heard that the RAV4 Prime, and I noticed that when we were driving it, is the gas engine does come on less often, and you seem to drive more in pure EV mode, but they're all a little bit different with that.
Which is why I want to hear from you guys if you have any experience. Like, say, for the Mitsubishi Outlander, it's going to be the gas engine coming on. The plug-in hybrids from Hyundai and Kia, the gas engine comes on, and so on. So I don't think you're going to be able to go on a very cold day up to highway speeds without the gas engine already being warmed up.
But I would also treat it like a cold gas model. The engine, you're gonna leave, drive slowly, don't accelerate too quickly, don't do any hard braking. Just take some time for that engine to warm up.
What they're saying is, if the engine isn't on, then it can't warm up. So what we want to know is, in cold weather with certain plug-in hybrids,
the engine is going on.
That's what I think.
I don't think that you're going to get a vehicle without the engine warming up a little bit.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I just don't think so.
Let us know.
Type below. I love your content. Thank you. I've never watched so much YouTube in my life. Well, we're happy to hear that. I'm looking to buy a new vehicle. I currently have the 2016 Nissan Rogue and loved it. But it's time for a new SUV. I was thinking I should think about a hybrid. Obviously, the Tucson or the Sportage are on my list. But the wait list is so long, close to a year, and I'm looking for a car sooner than later. I'm seriously considering another Rogue, but I know there's been a bit of talk about reliability. Would love to hear your comments and thoughts. You know, it really comes down to who you talk to. There are people who own the Nissan Rogue and absolutely love it. They are huge fans of it.
The packaging is really good.
Really good.
Like, it's really well designed.
And priced well.
And it drives well.
And it drives well. And then there's others who have had issues with that new turbo engine. So I don't know what to say. I like the product. I like how it handles.
I'm more in the wait and see category, because that engine's been out now. This is in its second full year. So if you're not aware, they got rid of the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder and they went to a excuse me, a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder turbo variable compression. A lot of technology going on with that.
Yeah.
I'm still in a wait and see on that one.
And you know what? That's it for us.
Oh, we're all done. Okay, I was going to get a drink of water. Okay, keep going. Let's just keep going.
Thanks for watching. And if you want to get a question in, follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning, I put a post out on Instagram asking for questions. Once we gather our questions, the post is deleted and we start the show.
Honey, have you ever heard of a horizontally opposed engine? Oh, it's gonna go.
Do
what?
it. You won't believe it.